Hello, welcome to Local Anesthetic Podcast, your weekly injection of mind-numbing local news. My name is Alex, and joining us, still fit and well, still alive, is Rob. How are you, Rob?
I'm not too bad. I must admit I am tired. So I realised I've got to that point, especially I think it happens a lot over Christmas, where you just start to lose track of days. You no longer care what day of the week it is. That's where I'm at this point in time.
Yeah, well, I think we should say to everybody, so many people are working from home, but Rob is had to, due to certain circumstances, been working especially hard. I mean, Rob, you've put the hours in for this country, actually, in a way, or parts of it,
I should just say I don't work for the NHS.
No, but you've been providing a vital service, nevertheless. We won't applaud you. I don't want it to be like mawkish or anything, but.
And I wouldn't expect that, Alex. If I'm going to be applauded for anything, it's obviously for my service to podcasting.
yeah, exactly. Well, we're providing a service right now, Rob, cheering everybody up. Now, look, right off the bat, Rob, I'm going to say, because I don't want to keep people waiting. If anybody remembers, people probably don't. I promised everybody that on episode 310, which this is, and we're recording for the fastidious amongst you on the 11th of April 2020, I promised that on the 310th episode I would reveal what I termed as the dark secret of episode 300. I
mean, people are literally sitting on the edge of their seat, Alex. They've been waiting for this for 10 episodes.
Well, it's a pretty big, it is a pretty big secret. So episode 300 was obviously a milestone episode for Rob and I. 300 episodes. And so you think that, you would hope that everything would have gone perfectly for the recording of our 300th episode, but it actually didn't. So what happened was Rob and I recorded as normal, and it was only when we got to the end of the episode that I realised that, because it was an hour long, that episode, Rob.
Yeah, it was.
There were no problems with the first 30 minutes, listeners, but the second 30 minutes, what I realised when we finished the recording is that my microphone hadn't been plugged in for the latter half an hour of an episode. That's a whole half an hour of an episode without my microphone being plugged in. Now, I was still recorded. I was recorded on the distant microphone of my computer. And obviously, when I came to edit it, it sounded like absolute shit, because it sounded like I was about a mile away in a cave underwater kind of thing. So I did what I could only do, really. There was no way Rob and I could re-record all that, because there was some great stuff in there and we couldn't spontaneously reproduce it. So I had to re-record all of my lines on my own and basically act it as if it was happening in the moment.
Alex, I have to say, I don't think anyone's guessed this, although I'm not sure anyone's guessed at all, but it was flawless. It was astonishing, the effort you've made to try and recover that episode.
It took a long time, deep into the night, and I was very tired by the end of it. When I sent you the edit, Rob, I didn't tell you that that's what I'd done. I didn't tell you about any of this, and you didn't notice. So that was always a good sign. I think somebody texted me and said I sounded a bit flat in certain parts of the episode, so maybe they picked up on it subtly. I don't know, because it's quite hard to reproduce the energy, Rob, the spark and the chemistry we have with each other, obviously.
Of course, and I think, given that you were basically just miming, not miming, but reciting your own lines that you'd heard around midnight, you're going to sound flat, Alex. I mean, that's going to take its toll after a while.
It would, and it did. So, listeners, it's been done. That is the dark secret revealed. You've kind of all been deep-faked, I guess, in a way, and I apologise for that. That what you thought you heard was a moment of spontaneous sort of comedic delivery was in fact acted. But there was no other choice. But I'm still happy with the episode nonetheless. Right, Rob, do you have any non-dark secret related news?
Just one thing. First of all, thank you for all the feedback for Daft Talk. Obviously, that'll be featured on the next episode 3. But then I can't remember it, because we've recorded quite a few episodes. I can't remember what we were discussing this on. I think it may have been Daft Talk. We mentioned those really shitty hot dogs, ye olde oak hot dogs.
Yeah, the ones that I got you to eat that time.
Yeah, was that Daft Talk or was that LA?
I've no idea. No, LA podcast.
It was LA, okay. Well, Kyber basically just sent us a picture. He'd picked up some cans of these hideous hot dogs for his dog. He basically says, brought some of these for my dog, but could never walk past the tin without thinking of Rob and Alex.
And our lovely evening of sharing hot dogs with each other, not a euphemism.
No.
Okay, Rob. Let's get on with this. I do have to start off with some coronavirus-related news. Because it's a great little story here. It's from a new paper in the United States, but a local paper. It's a tiny story, this, Rob.
Okay.
From the Michigan Live. Nice to know they have a live part of their local news as well.
I'm sure it's not affiliated, though.
No, it's a tiny story. April the 8th, by Brandon Champion.
Good name.
Michigan man wearing thong underwear as coronavirus mask assaults man who mocked him. Now that is genius. You need a mask. You haven't got one. Wear a thong. Strap round your face.
Surely that's not going to offer a lot of protection, is it? Is there a picture of him wearing it?
No, there is not.
Because surely that I mean, I feel that maybe a thong seems. I mean, traditionally there's not a lot of material on a thong. Surely he would have done better with a pair of his own boxer shorts, maybe.
Maybe. So this is a story. Battle Creek, Michigan. A Michigan man was allegedly assaulted after he mocked another man who was using thong underwear as a coronavirus mask. The Battle Creek Inquirer, so that must be the actual local paper, report. Actually, let me click on that link and see if we get any more detail. Not really. Reports a bizarre incident occurred in a home on Lakefront Drive in Battle Creek around 7 p.m. on Monday. The 57-year-old victim told the suspect that he thought the mask looked like the thongs laying around the victim's house, which upset the suspect. A warrant is being sought for the 47-year-old suspect who allegedly returned to the victim's house 45 minutes after the initial confrontation, struck the victim in the side of the head and kicked him in the ribs. So I love this. So he sees him outside wearing this thong as a mask, makes this remark, those look like thongs lying around the floor of my house. Bit of a dirty house, obviously. And this affects the man wearing the thong mask so much that 45 minutes later elapse and he thinks, no, I'm not having this. And he goes round the other man's house, strikes him on the side of the head and kicks him in the ribs.
So what I love is the fact that he's obviously been dwelling on this for the best part of 45 minutes, and he obviously knows this man to go round to his house.
Yeah.
And felt that this was the right course of action to take.
Exactly. Interestingly, police officers were unable to find the suspect, they said, and that's the last we hear in the story. So,
oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, maybe he hid himself in some extra large pair of sort of briefs or something.
Maybe.
Right, Rob, I've got, two airplane-related stories for you in a row. How about that?
Great, okay.
And I would argue that both of them are top drawer.
Okay.
So when I say top drawer, I mean the best of the best.
Is there any emotional support animals involved?
No, nothing to do with that. It's the detail in both stories. So the first of these is from the Independent Ireland edition.
Right.
It's by Shane Phelan from the April 6th. Headline: Passenger claims Aer Lingus staff pulled her from toilet with pants down as flight was about to take off.
Okay. Well, we all know that you're supposed to remain in your seat during takeoff. You are. Because obviously it can upset the balance of the plane.
Is that why it is? What, one person in the bog can upset the balance of the plane? Are you serious?
So I remember we got a flight back from Turkey once, and I think it was a plane about 230 seats, and there were 27 people on the flight, and basically we had to sit in certain sort of equally portioned numbers across the plane. It was very odd.
Did you have to lose a few pounds before you got on?
I mean, I don't understand what you're implying there.
Not saying anything. Okay, well, listen.
Right, okay.
An Aer Lingus passenger has filed a lawsuit after she claims she was injured after attendants pulled her out of an airplane toilet as her flight was about to take off. Rob, this story is absolutely extraordinary. But what I will say is, it's not as extraordinary as my next story. So by the time you finish with this, you won't believe how a story could go to another level, but it does. Anyway, American national Mary Oshana alleges she was dragged back to her seat while her pants were still below her knees, exposing her buttocks and genitalia to other passengers.
I mean, that's harsh.
She also alleges her hip was injured during the incident and that she was the subject of laughter from other passengers.
I mean, already I'm thinking that if this did happen, it would be very, very easy to verify.
Well, yeah, apparently it did happen. The bizarre case was filed with the US court last week. So here we go. Miss Ashana from Skokie, Illinois, is seeking a jury trial for damages, claiming airline staff acted unreasonably, carelessly, and negligently. Aer Lingus has declined to comment on her claims, which says to me they're true. Because if they're not true, you come out and say bollocks.
Yeah.
In a complaint filed with the district court for the Northern District of Illinois, her lawyers said the incident occurred shortly before a flight from Chicago to Dublin took off on April 26th, 2018. So 2 years ago, roughly.
Okay.
According to the filing, Miss Ashana's flight taxied from the departure gate at O'Hare International Airport and remained stopped on the tarmac for around 30 minutes before it taxied on towards the runway for takeoff. While it was stopped on the tarmac, she decided to leave her seat and go and use the toilet. According to the complaint, about 20 seconds after entering the toilet, she heard one or more persons banging on the door, telling her she needed to return to her seat. By this stage, she was seated on the toilet with her pants down. The filing said she told those on the other side of the door she would be back into her seat in just a minute, in quotes. So you can imagine this now.
Right.
There's banging on the door. Madam, you need to return to your seat. We're about to take off. I'll be out in a minute. But it's alleged that 20 seconds later, 2 Aer Lingus flight attendants broke through the lavatory door, grabbed the plaintiff under her arms, dragged her to her seat while her pants were below her knees, and threw her with great force into the armrest and seat. If this is mental.
How am I so suspicious about this story? I don't know. There's something just doesn't ring true.
The complaint alleged that her buttocks and genitalia were exposed to other passengers on the flight. In the process of being thrown with great force into the armrest and seat, the plaintiff, Mary Ashana, suffered pain and bruising in her hip, thighs and buttocks, her claim says. She saw and heard male passengers seated behind her laughing and pointing. Her lawyers claim the incident falls within the terms of the Montreal Convention, a treaty covering damages for victims of incidents on airlines. I love that there's a special treaty. The Montreal Convention.
Yeah, I didn't realise that.
Yeah, it's called the Montreal Convention. So next time you're on a flight, Roy, if you think you're being treated badly, having to wait too long for the peanuts, you can say, I demand my rights under the Montreal Convention.
I'm going to remember that.
Yeah. Asked about the lawsuit, an Aer Lingus spokeswoman said, we have no comment on this. Rob, this is true. If no comment means it's true.
I wonder if it's been exaggerated in some
Allegedly.
ways. I do wonder whether it did take place, but maybe the details have been slightly exaggerated.
How does the story take on less gravity than it does at the moment? How do you dilute this? Come on. You're saying this is exaggerated, so under-exaggerated for us. What actually happened?
So I don't know, Alex. I wasn't on the flight. But maybe when she came out of the toilet, she was forcibly moved into her chair and maybe not in the state of undress that she was alleging. But I don't know.
These are pretty bold claims. She knows there's a plane full of witnesses.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think if it would be easy to verify. And I can't believe people would be laughing because that sounds like horrendous treatment.
What I'm saying is, why would she make it up knowing there's a plane full of witnesses? Do you see?
Alex, why do people go on a holiday to Butlins?
Well, I don't know, but the other thing that disturbs me is that I would worry if that's a plane full of people who witnessed this and did nothing.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
I mean, because this is horrific. Anyway, the court has scheduled a status hearing early in June, so we need to look out for that, Rob.
Will do.
The case is one of a number of personal injuries claims a national flag carrier has faced from US passengers in recent years. So they faced a few lawsuits. These included a lawsuit in New York taken on behalf of a 4-year-old boy who was scalded with hot water on a transatlantic Aer Lingus flight, which was settled for $700,000.
Fucking hell. Yeah, I'll get burned for that. That's fine. I've been burnt for less.
You wouldn't give up sex, you said last week, for what was it, $10 million, but you'd be happily scalded and given third-degree burns.
Alex,
for
hang on.
7% of that.
For anyone who hasn't heard Daft Talk, you can't just throw that stat in completely apropos of nothing.
Oh yeah, sorry. You need to go and listen to Daft Talk episode 2. In the complaint filed in that matter, it was alleged the boy suffered second-degree burns to his right inner thigh during a flight in June 2014. A similar case involving a girl in Florida was settled in 2016. In another case, a claim for $1 million came after an engagement ring and other valuables were allegedly stolen from luggage, but that was dismissed by a court in New York. Right. I told you, Rob, didn't I, that the next story was going to be even more unbelievable than the first.
Yes.
There is no dispute about the veracity of this story.
Okay.
And that's mainly because it's not actually reported in a newspaper as such. It's reported on a very niche aviation publication.
Right.
You're thinking, how did I find this story? It's the website in question, anybody wants to know, is called Aerotime Hub, and it covers civil aviation, aviation economics, airports, defence, etc. It's by Clement Sharpentrew.
Okay.
Now, you're going to have to bear with this, Rob. It's the story which keeps giving. It is the details. There's a lot for us to dissect here. Fighter jet crash averted by defect in civil ejection incident.
Oh, God. That sounds serious.
On March 20th, 2019, so around a year ago, a civilian passenger was accidentally ejected from a twin-seat Rafale B fighter jet as the aircraft was taking off from St. Dizier 113 Airbase, eastern France. The final report of the French Investigation Bureau for State Aviation Safety on the incident outlines the chain reaction of both human and technical failures, of which unexpectedly prevented the fighter jet from crashing. There's story,
a headline in there somewhere.
Well, don't worry, I think I've got one later.
Okay.
This is extraordinary. The civilian passenger, identified by the report as a 64-year-old employee of a French defence manufacturer, was offered a discovery flight on this fighter, okay?
Right.
On this fighter jet. So he's 64 and he's offered a flight on a fighter jet as a surprise by 4 of his colleagues, including a former pilot of the French Air Force who organised the gift. So you with me so far?
I am.
Mate, organised this wonderful gift for you, a surprise flight on a fighter jet. Journalists or elected officials are often invited to take part in observation flights approved by the Ministry of Armed Forces for information and communication purposes, but they must follow a strict procedure that includes a medical visit to the centre for medical expertise of flight personnel and the approval of the ministry. Because flying on board a fighter jet isn't just like stepping on board a light aircraft. It is a very gruelling experience. You have to be medically...
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
However, this is unbelievable. However, this time, due to the informal, in quotes, setting of the flight, the usual protocol was not respected. Instead, the passenger was examined by a doctor 4 hours before the flight. He was declared okay to participate in the flight under the condition that he would not be submitted to negative load factor. However, that information was not communicated to the pilot.
Okay. So hang on. So the pilot was doing barrel rolls. You know, he was just he was dive bombing everything.
This could be our story of the year. You know that, right? Anyway, we've got more to go. The civilian was already nervous when he entered the cockpit, with his heart rate recorded between 136 to 142 beats per minute. That's fast.
Yeah, that is.
The investigation found that the safety checks of the passenger had not been appropriate at best. He carried out most of his installation in the cockpit by himself. As a consequence, his visor was left up, his anti-G pants were not worn properly, his helmet and oxygen mask were both unattached, and his seat straps were not tight enough. You know that feeling when you go to a theme park and you get on a ride and you're not sure the bars... You know, you always check like the bar, is it locked in place, but you're not sure it is. That kind of feeling. Imagine that times a million.
It sounds like the teenagers doing jobs over the summer have done more of a safety check than this poor guy getting into a fighter jet.
Yes. Following orders of a regular training mission that involved 2 other fighter jets, the pilot took off and climbed at 47 degrees, generating a load factor of around plus 4 Gs. Then, as he levelled off, he subjected his passenger to a negative load factor of about minus 0.6 G. This is a quote. Discovering the feeling of the negative load factor, the insufficiently strapped and totally surprised passenger held on, Rob, to the ejector handle and activated it by accident.
Oh my God.
During the ejection,
poor guy.
The civilian lost his helmet and oxygen mask. Due to a technical flaw of the seat, the dinghy failed to inflate, but fortunately the incident happened above land. The passenger sustained minor injuries. So basically, he's got on the flight.
How did he survive?
Well, because of the parachute.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Rob, are you? This story is incredible. So he's given a surprise flight on a fighter jet. The normal procedures are not followed. He's only checked by a doctor 4 hours before. He gets on the flight. He's got a heart rate twice what it should be. He's not strapped in properly. He hasn't got oxygen, anything like that. And out of sheer panic, as he's being sent in through the sky by a fighter jet, he accidentally triggers the ejector seat. Rob, this is the most traumatic thing to ever happen to an individual. Flies out of the cockpit and somehow only sustains minor injuries.
Alex, can I just say one thing, though? I mean, I love roller coasters. I really love roller coasters. I'm a big fan.
Right, I'm not. I don't think they're good for the back.
No, but that's my point. No one goes on a roller coaster because it's going to be an enjoy. Well, no, hang on. There's going to be a nice, serene, calming experience. They go for it for the pure thrill.
Rob, you're not blaming this man, are you?
No. What I'm saying is, he was getting into a fighter jet. Okay, his friends, I'm assuming, arranged his experience because it would be thrilling, it would be exciting, it gets the heart racing, and also this sounds like the most thrilling experience anyone could possibly endure.
He's saying he's got his money's worth.
Yeah,
right, Rob,
basically.
there is more. Rob, there is more. The safety record states, this investigation states that the absence of experience and lack of preparation due to the surprise caused a lot of stress to the passenger, who, in quotes, had never expressed a desire to carry out this type of flight, and in particular, on a fighter jet.
So why did he get in the plane?
The victim said he was given close to no possibility to refuse the flight from the moment it was announced to him, and that the social pressure of his colleagues contributed to the stress. So, hey, let's pretend he's called Pierre. Hey, Pierre, we've got you this surprise flight on a fighter jet. He's never, ever wanted to do this in his life, but feels there is no way out, Rob.
Alex, I'm sorry. I feel he is partly responsible for this situation.
But, Rob, that's a big gift. How do you say no?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, if you're terrified, that's how you say no. Oh, this poor guy.
Additionally to the mishandling of the passenger, the incident reveals something else, a malfunction of the ejector seat. The fighter jet was set up to, under normal conditions, eject both the pilot and his passenger when one of them pulls on the ejector handle. So what's meant to happen is one person pulls the ejector handle, you both are ejected. And the double ejection takes place in 4 stages. First, the back canopy is shattered by a line of explosives embedded into the glass before the passenger seat is ejected. Then the front canopy is destroyed by mini explosives, and the pilot is the last to be ejected out of the fighter jet. It's amazing, this detail.
Yeah.
But in this case, the last stage failed, and despite his canopy being ejected, the pilot remained in his seat. Local media reported at the time that the glass of the canopy had slightly injured his hands, so his canopy shattered with the mini explosives, but he was not ejected. And if he had been, well, I just want to point out, because it says here, so he remained master of the aircraft. He remained calm to pilot the plane, despite the multitude of failure messages that the onboard computer displays was showing him, and an unusual aircraft centering following the loss of the rear seat and canopy. Now, Rob, this is miraculous, because had that ejector seat not been faulty, let's just get clear what would have happened. What would have happened is this guy gets a surprise gift, gets on board the flight, panics, triggers the ejector seat, flies out. Because of his actions, the pilot would also have been ejected, leaving the plane to just descend and dive bomb and end in a burning inferno.
Yeah, he would have destroyed a multi-million-pound aircraft without a doubt.
Well, and who knows what damage the plane would have done to wherever it landed.
I think if you just to keep that in perspective, I think so. The latest F-15 aircrafts, not the F-15, the F-35 aircrafts, are about $100 million a piece.
Oh yeah. Well, strictly following the safety procedure, the pilot set the transponder onto 7,700, avoided flying over inhabited areas, dumped fuel, and landed successfully back at the airbase. He then evacuated the cockpit by himself, fearing that the ejection seat could activate any time. What a hero, Rob. So he flew this thing away from anywhere inhabited, dumped fuel at any point, thinking I could be jettisoned off this
It's
seat.
astonishing. He deserves a round of applause, if nothing else.
He does. The investigative team who produced the report recommended several recommendations, Rob. Would you have any recommendations?
A few, yeah.
Well,
Mainly
it
it's that
said
man.
that there should be a delay of 10 days, which should be respected, between the medical visit and the flight, which gives enough time for the passenger to prepare both physically and mentally, as well as ensures medical recommendations reach the flight crew. It also would have given him the chance to have changed his mind, Rob.
And possibly his pants.
Now, in a comment on this story, Rob, which I do feel contains the episode title, somebody who's into aviation just said, I don't know what kind of bizarre pseudo machismo shit is going down at this workplace where 64-year-old civilians feel peer pressured into taking ride-alongs in fighter jets without proper training, but it needs to stop as soon as possible.
Fair point.
Okay, Rob, you got some stories for us there.
I have indeed. I think, possibly, I'm sorry to say, listeners, all three are COVID-19 related. So, luckily, with Alex's stories, they were a slight detraction from that. But detraction? Do I mean distraction? Is what I meant to say. So, my first story is from the Somerset Live. It is from the 6th of April by Stephen Albayak. Yeah, it's close enough. Alex, it's bad news. Nude Fest 2020, UK's biggest nudist festival in Somerset, postponed due to coronavirus.
I'm gutted, I'm going to be honest.
And who wouldn't be, Alex? I completely agree.
Sorry, nude festival. Some things that go on in this country I just don't understand.
I mean,
most people aren't that attractive naked. That's just the truth.
I mean, what I find really funny is, so they've got a picture from Nude Fest 2019.
Nude Fest, oh my
of all
God.
the participants.
Are they nude?
Yeah. But I think
What paper's this on?
this is on the
What do
Somerset
you mean
Live.
they're nude?
What
What,
I'm
they
about
show
to
their
say.
genitalia?
Yeah. But I think Alex,
give me the
hang
headline.
hang on. Before you're looking it up, I need to say the image they used, I think, is deliberately low resolution, so you can't get, it's not when to say.
Okay, what was it called? No. What was the last one called? Nude Fest.
If you just go to Nude Fest 2020 cancelled coronavirus.
No. I want to know what the last Nude Fest was of this picture. Is that 2019?
Oh, I don't know. I just guessed it. It doesn't say that. I just guessed it was last year. It just says Nude Fest gets a significant turnout every year.
Oh yeah, if you go to Google Images, you get all the pictures. No, they're not. What the hell?
Listeners, don't do that. I mean, it's fair to say most of them are over an older age.
What is that about? Why is it always old people who are into this?
I think people just get to a stage in their life where they just stop caring.
Yeah. Okay.
So, the UK's biggest nudist festival, which is due to take place in Somerset this summer, has been suspended due to the coronavirus epidemic. Nude Fest has been held at Thorney Lakes Caravan Park in Thorney, near Langport, since 2016.
I know you're thinking what I'm thinking, but if I'm going to a nudist event, I don't want to go anywhere near anywhere that's got the word thorny in the title.
Yeah, it's very ill-advised, especially when I know for a fact there's a nudist resort in the UK called Sandy Balls. It's a true story, that.
Can you imagine being brought up in a nudist family? That'd be quite cruel, really.
I know someone where that is the case.
Was it you, Rob?
No, it's
Because
not.
I've always felt like asking.
I mean, I am normally naked from the waist down, but in that particular situation, and that's not me. Yeah, and so a friend of mine's partner, so his wife, her parents are naturists. And he said it was quite a shock once when he went down to the house for dinner and her dad opened the door, start bollock naked.
No, I just don't. It's unhygienic, if anything. Look, my dad, I'm going to be honest, is often topless. He likes it that way.
That's
he gets very warm. Yeah. But I think once you're taking everything off, that's just odd. Because one of the things that intrigues me is, like how the majority of us anyway feel sexually attracted to whatever How do I get this right? Whatever sex it is we're attracted to, we can feel attracted by their genitalia.
Basically, what
right?
happens if you get an erection? Is that what you're asking?
No. What I was going to say is that a lot of that attraction, or like the desire for a man to see tits or whatever else, is because they're covered most of the time. So do you become desensitized if you're just spending time around people and nude all the time? I imagine that you just lose a lot of that kind of sexual desire, or the kind of voyeuristic, I wonder what so-and-so looks like under their clothes, etc.
I think from for my very limited knowledge on the subject, I think a lot of people say that it's not sexual. It's just it's a way of life. It's like, I suppose it's like if you work in maybe like a chocolate factory, for instance. You just, after a while, you just lose the desire to eat chocolate because you're surrounded by it.
Can I say, I quite like as a new tagline for LA Podcast, it's not sexual, it's just a way of life. We'll have t-shirts made up.
That's a great slogan, isn't it? It's not sexual. I'll tell you what, for this episode, I always do it, and also that's what it's going to be this time.
Yeah.
So it attracts hundreds of naturists each year and involves a number of visits to the local attractions, which in the past have included the Hayes International Motor Museum and the Somerset Cider Brandy Company.
Brownies?
Brandy Company.
Oh, I don't know what's funnier, brownies. I think brownies is probably funny, but brandy is good as well.
I really hope they notify these attractions in advance.
Lucky this guy who went on board the fighter jet wasn't a naturist.
Oh God, yeah, you could have lost a few. Yeah, well, it's twig and berries. Can you just imagine a coach load of about naked over 50s looking around a motor museum?
I can. That's a weird thing.
Yeah, so can I. That's what's quite disturbing.
It's stories like this which make you realise how far away from London a lot of these places really are.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, Alex, come on. This goes on in London as well.
Well, yeah, but more in a high class way.
I don't know how this is done in a high class way. They're going to Tate Modern as opposed to a motor museum.
No, I mean it's more like sort of Russian oligarchs holding sort of masked ball orgies, Eyes Wide Shut style, that kind of thing.
Yeah. That makes sense. But as a result of the COVID-19 outbreak and the growing uncertainty as to when the effective state of lockdown across the country will come to an end, the event has been rescheduled. It will now take place between the 7th and 14th of September. A spokesman for British Naturism, which organises the event, said, "We have taken the difficult decision to reschedule Nude Fest until later this year. All bookings will be carried over to the new dates or refunds issued as appropriate."
So Rob, we could book tickets. I say Thod Eagle Heights. Let's sack that off and go to this Nude Fest. What happens if we turn up? What happens if we turn up but clothed? Do we get sort of forcibly ejected?
Yeah, and I think it's the same. I know that. I'm assuming that's what happens. Also, I know that. Didn't we feature a story once about a man who having an erection at a nudist camp? I seem to remember that story in the back of my mind somewhere.
Sounds familiar. Long time ago.
Yeah. Anyway, right. So I'm moving my next story, which is from the Mirror. It's from the 4th of April by Jamie Hawkins. Now, this is the kind of story that I generally had to think whether it was April Fool's, because it's astonishing.
Well, I did notice this year that, April Fool's jokes weren't really a thing, and quite wisely, I think, under the circumstances. Yeah,
they were very thin on the ground this year, which, again, is very much a good thing. So, headline: Boss tells furloughed staff to watch Netflix, drink beer, but buy less drugs.
Good advice. I mean, it's just good advice for life, really.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. The boss of a car hire company who furloughed employees has told them to not watch Netflix, drink beer, and buy less drugs. Ling Valentine of Ling's Cars wrote a letter to all 7 staff members in which she said she would pay their salaries whilst they are off due to the coronavirus lockdown. In a 2-page document which was shared on Facebook, Ling offered some advice to her small team during the furlough and even offered them loans if they struggled financially. Ling, who runs the company in Gateshead, said the staff should buy fewer pizzas and recreational drugs. I'm just wondering whether she really has an idea of what her staff are into.
I don't know if she was trying to be humorous, but it's just not the right time. Well, she might be being serious. I mean, I don't know. Where did you say this was based?
Gateshead.
Where's that?
Near
Newcastle.
Yeah.
There's probably quite a lot of drugs up there, I imagine. Don't know.
So the letter reads...
Brilliant, yes. Okay, good.
The letter reads, this virus is a white twat.
Okay, right, okay. She's that kind of person. Rob, just stop. This is the kind of thing that Peter Kay would come up with.
Yeah, it's very much genuine, though.
Okay, go on then. Oh, I wish you could read it in a Geordie accent.
Why, hey, man. This virus is a right twat. No, that's Welsh. Barely. No. This virus is a right twat, but your employment position is not as bad as it seems. So, I'm proposing to place you on furlough, which will be effective from the 1st of April. You will remain employed during this period. This is a temporary measure, and as soon as we can return to normal working conditions, we will do so. Stay at home, watch Netflix, drink beer, and avoid excessive masturbation. Our contract of employment with you reserves the right to lay you off or impose short working times. But, as I'm not a bastard, we will not be doing that. And frankly, if anyone's worried about their contracts and their terms, you've got your head screwed on. Sorry. You've got your head screwed on, cross-threaded. Oh, okay, I see what you're trying to say. Also, if anyone gets into hardship, talk to me. I'm happy to consider loans or salary advances to get you out of your dire straits, but we should all cut back a bit. Buy fewer pizzas and recreational drugs. So stay chipper, talk to me privately if things get sticky, and keep smiling.
I like this. Sorry, how did that letter cover 2 pages? Was it written in very big print?
Oh, there's more. It goes on and on and on. No, there's a lot of it.
Oh, right, okay.
And then strangely she says, don't catch the bloody virus, and then change hands at 99. Not sure what that means.
So let's work that out. Change hands at 99?
Yeah.
I mean, that is just gibberish.
I also missed out, by the way. She did say, so stay chipper, talk to me privately if things get sticky, not sticky like that, and keep smiling. Don't catch the bloody virus, change hands at 99. Again, no idea what that means.
It's a kind of letter David Brent would write.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just also to say, Ling's Cars is also well known, particularly for its wacky website, which features games and a karaoke on it. Mrs. Valentine even turned down... Oh, she turned down? I thought she... Okay. Mrs. Valentine even turned down a £50,000 offer of help on TV's Dragon's Den in 2007.
So her name's Ling Valentine?
Yeah.
This person sounds like she's been written by a comedian for a sitcom, no? Ling's Cars, Ling Valentine, and she turned down money on Dragon's Den. Oh, what was her idea?
It doesn't say.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'll look that up. How do you spell Ling?
Ling. On the website it says, please don't be deceived. I may be a scruffy Chinese girl, but I have more happy new car customers and supply more new cars than many of the anonymous and some big name leasing companies out there combined.
There are clips that you can watch her whole thing on Dragon's Den. Apparently Peter Jones described her as terrifying. She's the enigmatic founder of Ling's Cars, a leasing site that's been called one of the best websites ever made by...
Wow.
The Metro. No, by The Independent, and quite possibly the worst and weirdest website on the internet by The Metro. I feel I've got to go on lingscars.com. I'm doing it now. Oh, yeah, my dear too. Lord.
Wow.
It is.
Look at that.
Rob, what's the fuck with the Rolling Stone icon? The Rolling Stones logo is in the top right-hand corner, wiggling around. People have to go to this website right now to believe it. It's extraordinary. lingscars.com.
Alex, this is a legitimate website. This is someone's business website. And there's a picture of her.
This looks like a fake website.
There's a picture of her wearing a Darth Vader mask, basically, which has a little plaque that says, Ling Vader, Lord of this website. This is extraordinary. It's got live webcams of The Office.
I've never seen anything like this in my life. About Ling. I'm going to the About... If you go to the About Ling, she's actually presented horizontally, Rob, which is very strange.
Hang on. Okay, About Ling. I'm getting there.
Rob, there's one picture of her standing in front of an army truck with a rocket on the back. And the rocket says Ling's Cars, and she's wearing a... She says here...
Oh, yeah, that's it.
She's got quotes. I treat customers like adults, not like idiots. Oh, Rob, there's a whole interview with her.
She's got a master's degree. Alex, this is extraordinary. She's obviously a very talented individual.
Rob, one of the weird things is if you scroll to the bottom of the About Ling, there's a picture of her. It's like a sort of GIF, and they've made her head shake from back to forth manically, and there's just a massive beach bubble that says, "You can trust me, I am Ling." Please, listeners, go to this website. You could spend days on this, no?
Yeah, I mean...
This looks like it's been designed by somebody on an LSD trip.
It really does. Sorry, Alex, I've just noticed you can play Scale Electrics on the website. I'll be back with you in 2 to 4 hours. Extraordinary. You can actually choose your car. You can play Scale Electric's game on this website and choose your fucking car.
Isn't this a bit overkill for a small car dealership with 7 employees?
But it's obviously working for her, though. I mean,
so now I respect her letter.
Let's give her the benefit of the doubt here. She's obviously furloughed all staff. Has said to them, "I will pay you your full salary. If you get into financial difficulties, I will sub you or I will advance your salary." Fair play to this woman.
I like her.
Yeah, me too.
Rob, I've got another coronavirus related story by Simon, can't see the surname properly. Headline: Man dresses up as Barney to visit his girlfriend during quarantine.
So is this quite similar to the man who dressed up as a Tyrannosaurus Rex in Italy?
Well, that was Spain, wasn't it?
Oh, Spain.
Are you asking me to put the Jurassic Park theme music on again? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm happy for it to be left off. I know you'll take any opportunity to do that, but I don't think it's needed here.
We are all bored and locked up at home during quarantine, but there are people who do not understand the seriousness of the problem and still try and find ways to get out on the streets. This is a case of a man from Argentina who thought he could deceive the authorities, Rob, using a costume. We've already seen cases of people dressed up as dogs to get outside, although the authorities' recommendation is to stay at home. This time, an Argentine wandered the streets of Buenos Aires in a costume of Barney, the pink dinosaur. And I've got pictures here of him, which are, especially the one after he's arrested, is extraordinary. Please, listeners, go and look it up.
Can I just ask, would that not be excruciatingly hot?
Yeah, but I mean, you got to do what you got to do, Rob.
True.
The president of Argentina said the quarantine would end on April the 12th, but this prehistoric individual did not care and decided to go out on the streets dressed as Barney on his motorcycle.
Amazing. I'd love to see that.
When the police stopped him to ask him why he's outside, he replied that he'd been hired to host a party. That is a great excuse. But obviously, if there's a lockdown, who's going to... It's not a great excuse.
Is that a great excuse?
No.
Because he's basically just admitting that he is deliberately breaching lockdown regulations.
Yes. However, the authorities did not believe him and kept asking him until presumably he broke. I love that. That's a tactic. We'll just keep asking the same question, and eventually he just caved and said he wanted to visit his girlfriend.
Yeah.
In addition to breaking the quarantine, he also did not have documents that showed that the motorcycle belonged to him. So apart from being arrested outside his home, his vehicle was also confiscated. That is what is called having a bad day. Now, the pictures show an image from inside the police car, Rob, looking out the window and seeing a man dressed as Barney on a motorcycle putting his hands up, which is quite extraordinary. The second image shows him unmasked with his back turned and handcuffed, still wearing the Barney costume with a police officer next to him. What I want to know, Rob, is that if you're trying to look inconspicuous and sort of not be noticed, wearing a pink Barney outfit is going to draw the attention of anybody. If he'd just gone out on his bike, he probably would have got away with it. But in wearing what he wore, he ended up attracting attention, I would argue.
Yeah, I think that's a fair suggestion. Have we mentioned it on the podcast? I don't think I've talked about this. So there is an amazing story from India, and I'm not sure I didn't feature it. I don't think I mean, there wasn't a lot of detail to it, but did you know that some of the police officers were wearing COVID-19
I've got it in my inbox.
Oh yeah,
so explain for the listeners.
Well, I think that's basically the gist of it. I think in order to make people aware of the potential impact of COVID, and this was probably about a week or 2 weeks ago, police officers were wearing helmets in the shape of the virus. So
these huge, great helmets that look like a coronavirus. It's bizarre.
It was astonishing. Yeah, again, it's one of those things that you really can't make up.
No.
I
mean, that is going to be the summary, I think, for 2020 in the sort of encyclopedias, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Is it time now for our listener story of the week?
It is, yes.
It can't be from Amy. I think we've got to ban her, basically, for a while. We've got to say, you've had enough. We're not letting you in.
That might cause some issues, but okay. Mainly for me, no one else. Also, Amy, thank you for the pictures of your cat, which will be talked about in more detail.
I thought you were going to say something else there, Rob.
No. I don't know what Alex could be referring to, but we will discuss those in more detail on the next episode of Daft Talk. Anyway, so this story is from Khyber.
Hey!
It's from the 5th of April. It's from the Times Live, which is a South Africa-based paper.
He's like me. He's doing his research now.
He really is.
Okay.
Now, we have featured a lot of stupid stories relating to those breaching the lockdown in their respective countries, and this is another such story to quite an epic proportion, really.
Is this somebody who's going out on safari?
No,
like killing animals. Okay,
right. That would be pretty stupid. So this is by nice name, Orin Singh, and the headline. KZN, which apparently is an acronym for South Africa, which I wasn't aware of. Had to look it up. So KZN.
Can you explain that? How it's an acronym?
ZN apparently relates to South Africa. Oh god, I've read it on Wikipedia. I can't remember. Anyway, KZN newlyweds arrested for breaching COVID-19 regulations.
Newlyweds. Okay.
So Akawa Zulu Natal, so that's what the KZN relates to. Bridal couple will spend their first few hours as husband and wife behind bars after being arrested at their wedding on Sunday.
It's a story for the grandkids.
Yeah. Members of the police and the defence force gate-crashed a wedding in Nsleni, northern KZN, arresting the couple, the pastor, and more than 50 of their wedding guests. Senior sources in the area told Times Live that the arrests were made after police received a tip-off for the wedding were taking place in the area that contravened the lockdown regulations pertaining to the amount of people allowed at a gathering. We are currently processing them. They will be taken to the Mpangeni police station and kept in the holding cells. This is the second wedding-related arrest in the province. The Sunday Times reported how Ngandla school principal Jablani Zulu, 48, and his fiancée, 38, were arrested last Saturday shortly after taking their wedding vows. That's the entire story. So, Alex, not only were this poor husband and wife arrested directly after they've got married, but also the pastor who conducted the ceremony and 50 of their guests.
When it said 50 of their guests, that made me feel it was 50 of their guests rather than all the guests. So why weren't all of them arrested?
Maybe they were too busy running at that point. They realised what's happening and just made a break for the exits.
Yeah, quite possibly. Well, Rob, thank you, Khyber. That brings this episode of LA Podcast to a close. We look forward with a mixture of eager anticipation yet trepidation to our next episode, which will be episode 311, Rob, while we move ever more forward like
a man flying through the air, fearing for his life in his recently jettisoned aircraft seat. Just as the parachute is launched into the air and his descent is rapidly slowed as he falls to the ground, just like that.
I like the idea, Rob, that afterward, because it was a present, after he sort of staggered back to the airbase, they were waiting for him. Oh, so how was it? Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'd do it again, but, it was appreciated nonetheless.
Do you think... I would imagine that man's never stepping foot in an airplane again. I mean...
No, not at all. I think but he does sound like the man that I don't think would enjoy that kind of thing. I think he should just sit home, just enjoy a nice book. Nothing too racy, not like a Mills and Boon. Maybe just the Bible or something.
Quite possibly. Just like that, we move ever more forward to our next episode. We can be found on our website, lapodcast.net. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/LApodcast. We're on Twitter at LApodcast. We're on Spotify. If you want to send us a story, post it on Facebook, tweet it to us, or send it to lapodcast.net@gmail.com. lapodcast.net@gmail.com. I'm Rob. I look forward to this now every week. The headlines which never made it. So this is where Rob and I just go through headlines of stories that we decided not to feature for whatever reason. Often it's because the headline kind of tells the whole story. Okay, how many you got, Rob?
I've only got 4 this week.
I've only got 4 too. I'll start then. Driver said he was going 130 miles per hour to avoid catching coronavirus. He told police, "I thought the faster I went, the less chance I would have had catching the virus."
I mean, it's just a lie, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. This is from the Somerset Live. Another dead cow has been spotted floating in a river in a Somerset town.
That's quite horrific. Italian mayor uses drones to scream profanities at residents ignoring lockdown. Please look up that story because you can watch the video, and he is indeed screaming profanities via a drone at residents who are not obeying the lockdown. Get inside, you fucking idiots. Things like that.
Brilliant. People are dressing up as bears, unicorns, and walking the streets to keep kids smiling.
Are they?
Apparently so, yeah.
Or Barney the dinosaur. Man in a 109-mile-per-hour car chase was, in quotes, teaching his pit bull to drive.
Oh,
fuck off. What he told police when he was pulled over. Yeah.
Oh, God, okay. Incredible dad builds huge fort labelled Castle COVID, complete with drawbridge, for his son.
Okay. And last one, Barrow dog walker caught washing car in lockdown tells cop to, in quotes, do one.
I love that.
And he's been fined for breaking the lockdown rules.
The last one for me is from the Swindon Advertiser. It's very...
So you had 5? Oh, no, 4.
No, yeah. This is... there's not a lot of detail to this, but... woman in wheelbarrow was wielding axe on Manchester Road.
How did you not feature that? I want to know the detail.
There's nothing to it. It's only got 4 lines.
What does it say? That they found just the woman...
Basically, police received reports of a woman in a wheelbarrow making threats and holding an axe. that was it.
What kind of journalist doesn't give more detail on a story like that?
But what I love is... So... Apparently that there was obviously a man arrested as well, and I do wonder, it doesn't say whether he was pushing the wheelbarrow at the time. So the two of them, he was pushing her and she was there with her axe, just, making various threats to passers-by.
Where was that?
That was in Swindon.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that, Rob, and thank you, listeners, and we're going to be back very soon with episode 3 of Daft Talk, Rob, which means it's really becoming a thing now. We need to... Looking forward to that. And remember, just anybody listening right now, submit any questions from Yahoo Answers that you find that you'd like Rob and I to dissect on Daft Talk. Do that. Tweet them to us. Email them to us. However you want to do it. If you could just put the prefix in the subject title, Daft Talk, then we know that it's for Daft Talk. God bless.
And keep it local.